Welcome to another model train how-to video. In this episode I'm going to go over some of the basics of model railroading, but some of the important information. In this video I'm going to go over couplers, the type of couplers, and the different uses for couplers. So for this video I'm going to show different types of Katy couplers and how to install those, but there are different types of couplers. But for this video we have two main types of couplers for the centering spring. Here we just have this little centering spring that the coupler will sit inside of like that. But we also have a different type of coupler, a whisker coupler. You can see on the very edge there they have little metal pieces that will center the coupler as it moves about in the coupler box. So these are the main two types of couplers, but there are also different types of couplers for different uses. So I have three different train cars here, and these all have different types of Katy couplers, all for various reasons. So I'm going to start off with this auto rack here. As you might be able to tell, it has a much longer coupler bar compared to the rest of these. That's because it needs a longer coupler in order to couple with the increased length to prevent the two cars from rubbing against each other. So this has a much longer bar length for the coupler. Here I have a tank car. These often have little things on either end of it to keep it from riding up and down. And this isn't really necessary for model trains because it's not normally an issue, but it does add some more interest to the coupler and makes the railroad a little more realistic. But it does cause some issues if you're trying to uncouple train cars. And here we have just a standard Katy coupler, nothing special about this. It is a scale coupler, so it's a little smaller than just a normal coupler you'll find. But it is to scale, and it does make it look a little better. So a lot of times when you have a car, they'll just come with these standard plastic cheap couplers here. You can see they break really easy, they don't couple very well, so I generally don't like them. I generally try to replace them with Katy couplers. So it's a pretty simple process if you know how to do it, but for a beginner it might be useful to see how it's done, so I'll go ahead and show you. Couplers on a train car is relatively simple. All you need is a train car you want to replace their couplers with, some screwdrivers, and the couplers you want to use to replace it with. So the first step is going to be, generally you have to remove the wheels on the train car. So this one takes just a flathead screwdriver. So I'll go ahead and pull those off. That's a pretty simple process. So next you're going to have to remove the coupler box so you can take out the couplers. This one just takes a Phillips head screwdriver. So go and carefully remove the screw. Be careful with this because sometimes they do have that centering spring and they like to pop out. So first you go ahead and take the centering spring here and you just drop it in the coupler box. And if it's a whisker type coupler, then you don't have the centering spring. You just have to be careful to make sure both the little whiskers are in there. So you go ahead and take it on, make sure it's facing the right way. Generally it'll only go on one way. Go ahead and tighten down the screw. You don't want to tighten it too tight or else the coupler won't be able to center itself. So we'll go ahead and do the other side here. And for this video I'll go ahead and install a whisker coupler since I have one handy. Normally you want to do the same coupler on both sides, but just for the video. As you can see there's the two little whiskers on the end there. It just pops right on here. You want to be very careful not to break those, because if you do, then the coupler will not work properly. So it can be a little tricky getting it all to stay on there. There we go. Get that on. Tighten it down. And there we go. Now you make sure you want to put the coupler bar here facing downwards, which would be up if the locomotive or if the train car is upside down. Go ahead and reinstall your wheel sets. You also don't want to do too tight or else they won't be able to freely move. The other side. There we go. And we're all done. So installing couplers is a relatively simple process, but it can help with trains that are uncoupling or having issues, along with if you have any broken couplers, you'll have to replace them. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, and if you have any suggestions for a future video, let me know, and I hope it was informative.